Here at the New Orleans Convention Center, Radio Row, Super Bowl 47. Our coverage rolling right along as we wind up a great week here. Darren McFarland at 102.5, the game table. All this coverage brought to you by LowT Center in Brentwood, inside Maryland Farms, and Freeland Chevy Business Elite Sales. Now, I think I'm a pretty big guy. I mean, I'm not a horse jockey. I mean, let's be honest, 6'4", 275. Give or take a pound or two. But this next guy, man, he makes me look like a horse jockey almost. The great Neil Smith here at our table, former great with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Denver Broncos, where he won 2 Super Bowl rings. He stops by here with these LowT Center helmets at our table. We'll get to that in a minute. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm living. I'm thanking the Lord every day I put my feet on the ground that, I still have life and breath to breathe. Of course, I'm going through a lot of, after effect in football, but I'm good. I'm going to fight through it. I'm a warrior, and I'm not going to let anything hold me back.
Tell me about that, because you were a fierce competitor. You played in some great teams in Kansas City and Denver. You did a lot of winning. Mm-hmm. What was it like when that was all over? When you had to, you didn't have to prepare for Sundays and training camps and no more practice and camaraderie in the locker room. How difficult was it, or was it at all?
Well, it wasn't difficult. When you have the mindset that going in that, eventually when your career is going to end one day, you don't know if it's going to end that one play or whether it's going to end, when you just don't have it anymore, or the injuries can play a factor. That it's going to come to an end, and all great things come to an end. My grandfather always told me that, but I embraced that. When I did knew it was time. It was hard, it was hard to watch, and then in your mind you still thinking every week that you can still play, but then something touch you, say, hey, you can't do that no more. Look at those guys, you can't do that no more. I mean, they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, and you played the game, you played it at the highest level. Your time has been past you. Time and gravity, all plays a fact, and age have a lot to do with it. And but I can say that I really enjoyed the ride. I mean, it was great. Had some great years in Kansas City. One of my greatest moments is when I got drafted back in '87. I was the second guy picked overall. It was a lot of high expectations about me, and then I had an opportunity to start my career all the way to when I ended it in San Diego the year of 2000. I had a great time.
Must have been nice to play your collegiate ball in Nebraska, get drafted in Kansas City. I mean, it's not like you had to
I didn't go
play
very far.
Right, you didn't have to go in California to the East Coast.
Absolutely.
So that must have been nice.
It was, and there's a lot of Nebraska fans that's that's Chief fans, and there's a lot of people that followed you in college that seen you do it in college, and they take that little hour and a half ride down, 2 hours to Kansas City and watch you on Sunday after a Nebraska game on Saturday. So it was great, and I get a chance to go back every year. I go back, I have an opportunity to go back and embrace that, being that you're alumni and you love your school so much that you go back and see the changes, and they have some big changes up there to Nebraska. And it's all for the good, man. The facility is outstanding up there.
Brad Hopkins is on our morning show, and I remember in '93 he was a rookie. He was protecting Warren Moon, and that team, those Houston Oilers teams were good. They were in the playoffs. You guys were in the playoffs. Joe Montana had built a legacy in San Francisco, but had ended his career in Kansas City with the Chiefs. And I remember you guys went to Houston in the Astrodome in a memorable game and came out victorious on that January playoff game. Well,
we played them early that year, and that team was so good. I mean, he had great guys at skill position, they spread you all over the field. It's kind of like an offense like it is today where, it's all throwing. And we wasn't accustomed to all throwing. But we had 2 great pass rushers, which was myself and Derrick Thomas. We figured we can match up. Warren will hold the ball. He will wait and go to the deep receiver or whatever. And they had some good guys. But what I remember is that we played them early that year, and they actually put 500 yards up on us. And it was embarrassing to us. I mean, it didn't digest very well, didn't sit very well on our stomach. And we realized that, early in that year that, when we met them in the playoff, we knew we had to go up against a team that was very, very notorious, that was very good, offensive, defensively. and we had to play them. We had to go in their house and play. And we went in there with an attitude. It was avenging that we had to beat them, and we did. We ended their career. I mean, we ended their season that year. And I think the next year they went on to ought to be in the league by 35 points and then lose to Buffalo one game away from the Super Bowl. But that Houston team was a good team, too, back then.
Yeah, Brad is cringing right now. Listening to that.
Yeah.
I remember, man, you guys created a lot of havoc between you on one side and she mentioned Derrick Thomas on the other. I mean, you're talking about getting after a quarterback. And I'll never forget the news. I mean, we all have things that happen in the course of our life where we'll never forget that day. Mm-hmm. You know, what was that day like for you when you got the news about Derrick Thomas?
Well, I had just left there, seeing him. I was there for maybe like 2 weeks prior to the accident. Stayed there through the surgery part of it, and I went home, talked to him. The day before he passed, he was doing. Talked to him, and he expressed to me that I expressed to him that I was going to. They were going to do a tribute to him, you know, in Hawaii from the Pro Bowl. And sit and talk to him the next morning, you know, I get the news that he passed. And I didn't believe, I was in disbelief because it's like, how could he pass when I just talked to him? And that's when I know, you know, I lost a lot of loved ones in my life, you know, family members and all. I think that one particular loss in Derrick Thomas, it hurt me more than anything. For some reason, I don't know why. But, you know, I guess this is the love that I had for the guy. You know, it was just one of those things that we was very competitive with each other. It was compatible to everything we did on and off the field. And that's what hurt me the most, you know, to see a young guy go, you know, at 32 years old. It's just not supposed to happen. But we know we live in this world that we come in, we have to leave, and some sooner than others. And I respect that part of it.
You had great memories in Kansas City, but you move on to Denver and you get 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yes.
John Elway, we remember those great teams, Terrell Davis. What was that experience like?
Well, I loved it. I loved the experience. I was actually Denver was I was a missing piece for Denver, and I always say that because I never forget after winning Super Bowl, you know, Mr. Pat Bowlen said, and this win is for John. And right as he said that, and I say, and Neil, because I knew I was at the part of my career, I was at the end, and I wanted to leave with something special. And you're dreaming as a kid. You know, you hear a lot of guys say that, but as a kid, you dream that you would have that moment. And that moment of that first Super Bowl was big. It was stellar for me because it was like that burden that was lifted off of me that, you know, that I finally had an opportunity to play in the biggest game on the biggest stage. And that's what it is. It's a stage. As you can see, this radio row, how big it is. And I never saw this part of it. You know, now, you know, post that since I've been out of the Super Bowl now, I can see all the festivities and see how people is, and I can see how you can be distracted. I didn't allow that to happen to me. Because, you know, I knew that there was life after that one game. If I could put everything everything I had in my body and leave it out there on the field, then if it was good enough for a win, then I would feel real good about it. And I did that 2 years back to back. And, you know, it was a great – I mean, that's saying, okay, you have bragging rights for the next 3 years in them 2 years to say that you were world champions. And that means a lot to the players. It's not the money part of it. It's what you put in. And you know how hard it is week in and week out. How you have to go out there and you have to bang and, you know, you got to get treatment and you have to be in meetings and then it's over after this game and then there will be a champion and hoping it's been you. Unfortunately, I was a missing piece and I'm glad they brought me there because as I told John when I got there, you couldn't win one without me.
Tell me about these helmets we have here. They've been a big part of our sponsorship to get down here, and I know that's near and dear to your heart.
It is. I got tested and got my level checked, and I am a consistent LowT guy. And I tell you, you know, of all the problems that I've been having, that ever since I've been taking the shots, I started to get better. And I started to get better each time. And I'm like, wow, man, this stuff really must work. You know, of course, it's not going to take away my migraines that I have and the memory loss. But, you know, physically, I feel energy. You know, I can get up and I can walk. I can go and try to walk on a treadmill and feel good about myself. This is works. I would never, ever say I put myself on something that I didn't endorse it or that I never even tried. Like, and I can say that the LowT Center is changing lives. You know, if you look at the guys that have come through, they have came through here talking about the LowT Center, that they ain't just doing it for the money. You know, this company is growing, and it's growing rapidly. They have 24 stores now or more that's opening, and they opening them up every week. And the good thing about it is that, you know, I hate the doctor. You know, I hate going in waiting and having to do paperwork and having to do, you know, to sit in line. This is so easy because you can go in and you can get out less than 10 to 15 minutes. And that's stellar because you can go in and see the doctor. They can check your system. They can check you and see if you needed a shot. And if not, you just go back. If you do need it, you go back and get your shot, and out the door you are. You know, you can still get on your golf game. It's still, you know, you can still go do whatever your day consists on. And these centers are going to see. So if you ever see the LowT Center, if you go to their website, you know, look it up because they're coming to your near area, and I think that they're going to change life, and I'm going to be with them for a while.
I like it. This was a pleasure. Thanks for stopping
Thank you,
by.
man. I appreciate you.
And this is a big week for Neil Smith. This is his hometown, New Orleans.
This is home, man. Welcome. I was going to say, welcome to the Big Easy.
Yeah,
man.
We've had a great time.
Yeah, and enjoy the fest, and enjoy the food, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and enjoy the Super Bowl.
It's impossible not to have a good time down here. Thanks for doing this.
You bet. Thank you.
The great Neil Smith. We appreciate him stopping by our table. We'll take a break, and we'll be back.